If you're in Intermediate 1 right now, would you just raise your hand? Intermediate 1. This is a lot of Intermediate 1 folks, right? So you guys that aren't in Intermediate 1, are you in Intermediate 2 and 3?
3.
2.
3. Done with Intermediate 2. And Emma? No.
Just take on 1, I'm not 2.
Oh, okay.
2.
Okay, 2. Okay. So, welcome to everybody. We're glad that you decided to come. I think this will be really good for you guys as you start your accounting program. Welcome to the folks in accounting. You are. I didn't know that.
Just an early one.
Early, okay.
Still in intro.
Oh, okay, intro. All right, good. Well, today we're really glad to have Cole here. He was a student, just like you guys, 9 years ago?
9 years ago I graduated.
9 years ago he graduated. Since that 9-year time, his career has just zoomed, and he's been very successful. Apparently, he knows the secret sauce, and he's promised to tell us what it is, right?
Coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, later you can find the secret sauce. But no, we're really, really excited to have him here. Ask questions as we go along if you want to. We're going to have folks online asking questions also. This will be online later for you to look at. So without further ado, here is Cole Wilkinson.
Well, thank you guys for having me tonight. We'll go ahead and jump right in here with the introduction. So as Carol said, I graduated in 2007 from Georgia Southwestern with my undergraduate degree in accounting. Shortly after graduation, I started working for a company called Wood Grain Millwork. Wood Grain Millwork is based in Fruitland, Idaho, is where our corporate headquarters are. We've been in business for about 60 years. The company got started by the current CEO's dad back in Central Oregon, and it's grown today to 27 facilities domestically and internationally. So I work for one of those facilities in Leesburg. I started out there as a staff accountant, just at the very entry level of accounting. So I started out in there in 2007. I did that for about 2 years. So in that position, it's a lot of the things that you would think of in entry-level accounting position. It's doing basic things. It's doing month-end closes, consolidating inventories, doing data entry, just some of the grunt work, so to speak, that goes into accounting. But that was a really good place to start. That's kind of where I cut my teeth on learning how business works. Because in the financial side of things, I mean, you're starting to get engaged in everything that goes on in the business. I mean, you're looking at, especially in a role like that I was in, it's not specialized. It's not, audit or tax or anything. It's general. I mean, that plant runs as a business, so we're looking at everything. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. Shortly after that, I moved up into a cost accountant role. So in cost accountant role, we start moving into a little more detail. Start moving into a managerial type. So I start looking at goods sold and inventory operations and getting a little more in depth into what goes into the business running, which we'll go into a lot of detail on that as we go through the presentation. That's the major talking point that we want to talk about today is the transition from the financial side into the managerial side. So really I feel like the cost accountant position is the one that I was most able to start grasping the concepts and learning the business and really helped me build the baseline for where I am today. So after that, I spent a couple of years as the plant controller. So then I started moving into a managerial and leadership role for the facility. So I had accountants that worked for me. I was also at the top level of the facility from the financial side. And then after I did that for a couple of years, I took on my current position, which is the site manager for the facility. So in my current role today, I am basically the general manager for that business that is our plant. And so, like I said, I really feel like the accounting side, and specifically the cost accounting side, helped me learn the tools and develop the skills needed to move up into the management role that I'm in today. So to start things off, I just want to break accounting fields down a little bit for some of you folks that might not quite understand it yet. So you've got the financial side. So financial accounting is really reporting on organizations' financial information to external users. Then you get into audit, which is the unbiased examination and evaluation of financial statements. Tax, so these are more public accounting roles of preparing, analyzing, and presenting tax payments. And then you have accounting information systems. So, you know, with where we are today in the world, everything is integrated within technology, and we rely a lot on information systems, especially on the accounting and finance side, to collect and process our data. And then the last one, which is the one we're going to talk most about today, is the management accounting. So that really relates to the measurement, analysis, and reporting of information to aid managers in business decisions. So what I want to talk about in these two tables is comparing a little bit of financial accounting against managerial accounting. And I want us to look at this in the perspective of not financial accounting versus managerial accounting, but how they're different and how we transition from that financial side into the managerial side. So you'll notice that arrow at the top is pointing towards added value. So what we want to look at when we look at this table is compare how the features of each one of these areas is adding value to the business. We're going to get businesses to add more value to it. So on the financial side, like we talked, the main users of the information that is generated in financial accounting is going to be external. So that's going to be investors, creditors, government agencies, or maybe your corporate office. We start adding value to that on the managerial side. We start working more internally. So that's where the executives, the managers, the operators of the business are using the information that we're providing, and we're working with those people in order to add value to the business itself. So the purpose, really on the financial side, is just reporting financial information. You'll see in the block below, the focus of that tends to be historical. So we take, for an example, early 2016, we're compiling and looking at everything that happened in 2015. We're ensuring that all that information is correct for tax returns and other business purposes, but we're looking in the future, which that's not a bad thing. We do need that information to be accurate and correct, but it doesn't really help us as we are trying to manage what's going on. So on the managerial side, it's more about managing the business opportunities. It's about making decisions. It's about having that information in place and the ability to interpret all that information and turn it into ways to help make decisions that help the business. So then we start transitioning into being more forward-looking. So it's more dynamic. We're looking at a lot more things that are coming up. What can we do? What can we do differently? How can we make changes? How can we make more money, et cetera? So from the scope side, it's a little different as well. On the financial end, you tend to be looking globally. So you're looking at information for the company as a whole. So we'll take, for example, our company has 27 facilities. The financial accountants are going to take all the information from all 27 of those facilities and roll them up into an income statement and a balance sheet. So that's going to say how Wood Grain Millwork is performing as a whole. But it doesn't get down to that next level of how is each one of these individual businesses performing. Even take that from the perspective of the financial accountant at the plant is consolidating all the information from all the different product lines or product categories or customer segments that we're performing. All that's getting rolled up into a general statement. Doesn't tell us a whole lot about what's really going on underneath the covers. So once we start moving into the managerial side, we start looking at things more segmented. So we're looking at business units, whether it's an example of a plant or a product line within that plant or even customer segments. So managerial side's taking that information and using the skill sets that they've developed, looking at things from the financial side, all of that in a where we're able to make better business decisions about the business itself. So to do that, the emphasis on financial accounting is going to be more about objectivity and verifiability and precision. When we get into the managerial side, it's more about relevance and timeliness. You know, on the financial side, we're going to spend a lot of time reconciling information, pulling things together, ensuring that everything is in its right spot. Managerial side, we're taking that information, but it's not so much about being exact and precise. It's about being able to relate that information in a timely manner to let us make better business decisions. So skills. On the financial side, it'll be reporting, it'll be technical and analytical. So, I mean, these are these baseline entry-level skills that, you know, we all see that accountants need, and they're all going to be working towards. Now, on the managerial side, we start working more with people. We start working with other areas of the business. So we start working, we need skills that like communicating, innovating, and solving problems. Now, the next section here is an interesting one. So on the regulation side, you know, we have FASB, GAAP, and SEC that make these rules that say these are how we have to put all of our information together. This is how it's done. It's black and white. Well, when we get into the managerial side, there are no regulations. And what that means is we're able to take that information and be more predictive with it. We're able to make assumptions. We're able to do things to help us make those decisions. And so from a perspective standpoint, on the financial side, it's more about compliance. It's complying with that regulation. It's complying with policies and procedures that the business may have to ensure that financial statements are accurately stated. On the managerial side, it's more about strategy. We're looking at that information and applying it to the business. So this slide here, there's a lot going on in it. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. Important thing to look at, to focus there, is at the bottom of the screen. We'll look at historical data on the left-hand side versus predictive data on the right-hand side. We also look at that from the perspective of the value that's added to managerial decisions. So cost measurement and cost accounting kind of crosses over these two areas between financial accounting and managerial accounting. On the financial side, it's the stuff that comes out of the textbook, right, about you know, making sure that cost of goods sold are accurately stated and that inventories are valued correctly. A lot of that is data. You know, there's not a lot of decisions that are being done. This is the right way to pull all that information together. We start moving towards the right-hand side, and we get into more performance evaluation and analysis. So we're taking that information and using it to develop what's going on. We're looking at the performance of the facility and analyzing how all this information is coming together so that we can start developing strategies and working to develop the business. So you're going to be doing things on the performance side. You know, that's profitability reporting, process analysis. A big thing there is learning and applying corrective action. So you'll see that one's kind of in the middle there between historical and predictive information. So we're taking that historical information that we've gathered over time, whether it's, you know, a monthly bucket or quarterly bucket or an annual bucket, and starting to learn from those, let's call them mistakes or things that went right, and implement corrective actions to improve them. So now we're starting to transition more into, you know, that predictive side of things, being able to look at what's going on and make decisions going forward. So the role of a management accountant. So these are some of the things that a management accountant is going to do. These are the kind of things that, you know, as I transition from the financial or staff accountant side into, you know, a cost accountant or controller, these are kind of things that we're transitioning through. Cost accountant is facilitating, controlling, monitoring, pricing costs. Those things are extremely important to the business. You know, we've got to understand, you know, what the cost of our products are so that, A, we know how much we need to sell them for, you know, to make a profit. We need to know what our cost should be so that we can look at our performance and understand, you know, are we doing worse? Are we doing better? Why are we varying from where our cost should be? Because we put all of our plans together based off of, you know, our analysis of what they should be. So we're looking at things in that nature to start making management decisions. You know, if our waste is high, if our scrap rate is high, obviously our costs are going to be varying from standard. So we're taking that information that we've collected that has said, you know, this is what the cost should be, these are the actual costs, and this is the variance, and not just reporting it. So we can just report it, plug it into a variance account and say, well, this month, you know, we varied from standard by this many dollars and this is what happened. When we start taking it to the next step is start to dig into why those things are happening, what's going on, and what we can do to make them better. The management accountant also has a dual purpose role. It's a strategic partner to the operation. So that's going to be where we're working with the business management team, like we talked, to use the information that we have to make those decisions. Also, the corporate finance group relies on the management accountant for reconciling financial data against the source system. So the management accountant is generally the person that, you know, is on the floor, they're on site, they're in touch with what's going on day to day within the organization. So they're generally tasked with making sure that the things that are happening are correct and reconciling that against what financial data is being sent back up to the corporate office for their consolidated financial reports. And the biggest thing that has really drove me towards my role is about creating value. So in these roles, we're able to use the skills that we have to drive the success of the business. And it's really, like I said, it's more about just reporting what's going on. It's about being engaged and taking action to help drive the success. So some of the things that, you know, we work on in a cost or management accounting role, these are just some of the tasks and services. So business metrics development. This is one that's really important for any business, especially in my experience on the manufacturing. So we talk about KPIs or key performance indicators. These are things where we've dug in and looked at, you know, the actions or activities that really help show that we're going to be doing good in the business. That if we do these things right, then we're going to be successful. The financial statements are going to be improved.
So what's an example of one of those?
Well, one for us is a recordable incident rate. So, you know, in a manufacturing environment, you know, safety is our #1 priority. And that's for a number of different reasons. It's a moral obligation we've got to our safe workplace obligation that, you know, as people get hurt, responsible for those injuries. So if we're measuring, you know, the rate at which we're having incidents, we have to report that anyways for OSHA. But from a metric standpoint, you know, if we're keeping our recordable incident rate low, we're having less incidents, we're causing less injuries, we're spending less money. So by that, in that sense, you know, we're improving the financial performance of the business by managing our recordable incident rate. Another one is price modeling. So that's, you know, taking the cost that we've put together, doing the analysis that we've done that said, here's everything that it takes for us to make this product or service, and determining what the price needs to be. So that's price modeling takes that a little bit further, and we start doing, you know, what if analysis. You know, what if we were able to, you know, raise our price by this amount? What is that going to do? What is that going to do from a volume standpoint? If we raise our price X% and volume is reduced 10%, are we still going to be profitable or not? So that rolls down into product profitability. That was one that I worked on extensively when I first got started on the cost accounting side. So the business that I worked for, you know, around that time frame, 2007, 2008, the economy was getting hit pretty hard. Our business is manufacturing building materials, so we were hit extremely hard. So obviously, you know, the business managers then are going to be asking us questions about what can we do to stay alive? You know, what do we need to do to be able to maintain this business? Well, up until the point where I started working, you know, the plant didn't really have a lot of detailed cost information. The financial statements were basically consolidated. Like I talked earlier, it was just that consolidated income statement that said we're selling this much material, we have all these costs and we're, you know, losing or making this much money. Well, we took that a step further and started looking at, well, what products are we making? How are we allocating these costs to those products? So once we're able to take that and break it down and say, you know, category A is performing here, category B is performing here, category C is performing here, we're able to see that category C is our problem. You know, we've got a price issue. So we need to be focused in that area to be able to drive the performance of the business up. So without being able to dig in and break those things apart and really look at it in detail, you're not able to make very good decisions. You know, with all that rolled up data, we don't know if we need to be focused on product category A. So that's a big one. Cost benefit analysis, capital budgeting and forecasting, cost allocations. Some of the other things that we'll do are internal financial presentation and communication. So that's where we start building these skill sets of communication and leadership that we need to move up in the ranks. So we're starting to take steps away from just preparing the financial statements to being able to present those financial statements and talk about why they are what they are. And so in order to be able to talk about why they are what they are, we have to understand the business and what's happening.
So can I ask you about pricing everything out? Would you say that you were one of the ones that started this business of determining which products were successful and which weren't? And did that make a mark with corporate?
It did. You know, we were able to jump in and that really did help. You know, since we were able to jump in there and really kind of get a hold on what was going on. I mean,
so
at that period of time, things were pretty shaky. So
you came to the job and thought, oh my goodness, we don't have enough information.
Yes, exactly.
And then you solved the problem.
Yep.
And then you got the attention of management. Seeing
hey, this guy knows what he's doing.
That you were a problem.
Let's work with him more. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all about solving those problems.
Well, how come the other people weren't doing that?
You know, the business had kind of been leaned out a little bit because, you know, it was, times were tough and, you know, maybe they were stretched too thin or maybe they didn't have the aptitude or the ability or the desire to do much more than just prepare the financial statement and be done with it.
So maybe they were just more like an 8 to 5 person, and you were staying awake at night going, how can I fix something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I'm starting my first job off, and this plant's going pretty bad. I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, we got to do something here, or it's not going to look very good. So that was a big driver for it. It also goes back to that discussion of the difference between financial accounting and managerial accounting. If we only focus on the financial side, if we're only focused on making sure that things are in the right places and that the statements are accurate, we're not doing anything other than just consolidating information, which is not really helping the business drive itself. Like I said earlier, it's helping people know what's going on at the business. We know how we performed last year. But by jumping in and getting engaged with the business and being active really helps drive us towards that. So part of getting there is that, you know, in order to do cost accounting well, you have to understand all the costs that are associated, all the things that get involved with building up, you know, your costs. And it's a lot more than just what materials go into making this product, or, you know, how fast does it run and how much labor gets applied to it. There's so many things that go into it. So it's really beneficial for me was getting engaged with all those other business areas. So you start working with people outside of finance. You start working with production managers or managers, or, you know, your sales folks and different things. And so you start to really start picking up on, you know, how these people are operating, how their functions impact the business, and you can start learning everything that gets involved into making that business run.
That's part of the secret sauce.
That is.
Like caring what you're doing,
yes.
right?
Yeah. it definitely was not an 8 to 5 job. You know, we look at that, and I'll touch on that on some of the before some of these highlights. So, I just wanted to explain kind of the career ladder, and this isn't the path that I took. It's a path that a lot of people take to get there. It gives us some examples of how we can move forward. So we start out with an undergraduate degree, and our first job was probably going to be, you know, a staff accountant or an analyst somewhere, doing that baseline information. That's important. We need to start out at a low level so that we can really get an understanding of the underlying principles and how things get put together, and also start to get a little comfortable in the business environment. You know, things are going to be a little different than studying for exams and working on projects. The next step, which some people take and some don't, is a graduate degree. Now, on the accounting side, some people go, you know, for a master's of accounting or something else. Now, from my perspective, we're really looking at trying to take things into a managerial role. An MBA is pretty powerful there because, you know, on the MBA side of things, we're going to start learning about a lot of things in detail at a level higher than we did in our undergraduate degree in areas outside of accounting and finance. So, you know, we're going to be learning about human resources and marketing and things that all of that has to come into play for us to be able to manage a business effectively. Then we have professional designations. Some of these you may have heard of, some of them you may have not. The first set, most of you may have heard of, you know, a CPA, public accountant. There's also a CMA, which is a certified managerial accountant, and then a fairly new one, which is the CGMA. Now, these next two are things that I've picked up and learned as I've gone through my career and gotten engaged on the manufacturing side. They're not just manufacturing principles. They apply in a lot of places, but they tend to lean towards production, and that's Lean and Six Sigma certifications. So what those are quality management tools that have been developed and implemented, and they're ways to analyze information and make decisions. They're really powerful tools for helping drive the performance of a business. You're looking at ways to increase quality, which is not always just about scrap rates and defective parts. It's about you know, delivering products on time, delivering them in a timely manner, which all these things add up to cost, right? And so as we're looking at ways that we can improve on those, we're driving costs down. But we're also there getting engaged with the operations side of the business. We're not sitting in the office, you know, punching away on the Excel spreadsheet. Another one is APIX CPIM, which is production and inventory. That's one that is a good certification for people that are going towards you know, manufacturing and production type jobs. So then, you know, at this point, we're fully engaged as a management accountant. Obviously, our background has been in numbers and in finance. So we're using numbers and things like this. And after that, we're set in stone. Here's the next step. You know, in my example, as I've stepped into you know, a general management role, I've kind of stepped away from, you know, just the pure finance and accounting side of things and gotten into the business itself. I've seen a number of accountants go through a similar path, even within our company. I know of one that was a plant controller for us at one time that is now a national merchant for Home Depot. I mean, they're a supply chain manager. You know, we've had internally where a lot of folks will go from accounting and management accounting into IT roles. Like we talked earlier about ERP systems are one that we use to pull all of our information together and consolidate everything that we need to make. With the accountants knowing where everything is supposed to go, right, and knowing that this transaction needs to go here and needs to be collected in this way so that we can make good decisions about it. You see a lot of accountants that get into those IT roles of helping implement and develop those information systems. So really what I'm trying to say is the path is wide open at this point. You know, accountants, we don't have to just be focused on, working in public accounting and, doing taxes and doing audits. The skill sets that we learn as accountants really help build a baseline for us to be able to do a wide array of things in business. You'll hear it said a lot that accounting's the language of business, and it really is. That's how we talk about everything that goes on. So by specializing and studying in accounting, we're pretty well versed in that language, and that really helps us develop and have tremendous opportunities in the business environment.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
With the graduate degree, would you say that an MBA is better if you're going industry-wise versus public accounting?
I would say so. Just because it's going to be focused on a lot of general business, whereas if we're as accountants, we're focused more on the financial side than the general business side.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll also say that, the CPA is something that is beneficial regardless of, whether you're actually going to go and stay in public accounting or not. As we start looking for new positions and new roles, that designation is going to put us a step ahead of the competition, as well as give us a broader knowledge base than maybe some of the other folks have that we're competing for jobs for. All right, so the transition to management accounting. So these are some of the tools that we use and I used as we start moving from that financial side to that management side. And like we talked earlier, problem solving is probably at the top of the ladder here. It's providing information that's useful in evaluating alternatives. So it's taking things to that next step besides just putting everything together and ensuring it's in the right place and accurately stated. It's being able then to take that information and help solve our problems. Data-driven decisions are the most important thing in business in my mind. And so as accountants, we'll use that data to help show other managers how they can make better decisions in the business. And to do that, scorekeeping is what we use. So we want to record the results of actions. It's not about just stating the information, it's talking about what's going on. Saying, hey, we're going to make these changes, let's put these things in place to be able to record the results of that information, and then assess whether that's even happened. If it has, then great, we met our goal, let's see what we can do to make it better. If we haven't, what went wrong, what can we do to get where we want to be? And then the next step is attention directing. So like I talked earlier in the example of, a poor performing product line, it's being able to take that information and do comparative analysis and say, okay, managers or salespeople, we need to focus on our price. That's the problem. Or, operations, if we do these things, if we improve our change out times and reduce our setup times, then, we're going to be able to save, $100,000 a year. That helps direct the attention of the other managers of the things that they can do to improve the business. So what that does is shows the opportunities of focusing our attention in certain areas, and we really use, again, that language, which is dollars, to do that. So some of the skill sets that are going to be required as we start moving up into new roles and moving up in the business. So one's going to be the top end there is aptitude and interest in numbers. I think a lot of us probably started in accounting because we're interested in that. We also need to be interested in business and production processes, and not just being able to be really good at doing the math or putting the spreadsheets together. So that strong baseline of understanding accounting and finance is very important, but it needs to be analytical and interpretive. You need to be able to understand that information and interpret it in terms that other people can understand, other people can act on. Technology is advanced with software. There's still a ton of work that gets done in Excel. But ERP systems are one that is real important. So what an ERP system is is that's that system that, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So that's that system that tries to collect as much information as possible about the business so that then we can analyze that information. So for an example, we're going to take an order from a customer, we're going to punch it into that system. Then we're going to have the information in front of us that says, we need to manufacture this amount of product by this date for this customer. Now, we've done the work on the back end that has said, well, for this product that that customer wants, we need to collect, 10 pieces of this item and 5 pieces of this item, and put it together and put it in a box and send it to the customer. Well, item A, we've got to take item C and D and put them together. So the ERP system is that database that collects all the information, and all that rolls over to the accounting side. So as we're making those transactions to consume inventory, for example, we're reducing our balance sheet and adding cost onto the other side of the system automatically as transactions are made. So it's not where we go count all of our inventory at the end of the month and reconcile our purchases and say that we spent this amount of money. All these actions are taking place live as business is happening. And so that really helped accelerate the accountant's job away from, having to do those menial reconciliation tasks, as well as providing a lot of detail into what's going on. So being able to understand and utilize, technology and software is going to be important. Broad business knowledge is important as well. So like we talked, getting away and getting outside and understanding and working with functional areas outside of accounting is where we're going to start picking up the pieces and putting them together to start moving on into broader roles. An important aspect of that is being able to see the picture. So especially early on, I have a tendency to look, down at the base level, and looking at, what's going on just right here. We need to be able to see the big picture and maybe get away from all the massive amount of information that's coming into the system and be able to see how it's playing together, how it's working together, and how it's helping the business function. Another skill set that's going to be important is leadership and management skills. Obviously, as we start moving into progressively higher roles in the business, we're going to need to be able to lead people. We're going to need to be able to manage activities and manage people. So those skill sets are important ones to start with early on. A skill set that's going to help with that is communication. So as we talked, we've got to be able to collaborate with a lot of different business areas. So we need to be able to communicate with a lot of different people that work in different areas. We also need to be able to communicate effectively the results of our actions and what we're trying to show. So we need to be able to communicate that out, and then creative thinking. So this is one that accountants sometimes have a hard time with, and that's being creative. Everything is not always as black and white as it tends to be on the accounting side. We've got this dual entry system that this goes here and this goes here, and so we're trained and we think in these concrete terms. As we start progressing in business, we've got to be able to think creatively and think about ways to solve problems. That's not going to always be cut and dry like we experienced early on. Yes, sir.
So, like the ERP is, because I've been introduced to ShopKeep, point of sale.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of does what you were talking about. It takes some of the background items and automates that.
Yep.
So that's what the ERPs do.
Yep, that's what they do, and the
On
good
the
ones.
commercial side, 'cause the ShopKeep would be like on the commercial side, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, the ERP system is really the good one's goal is or the top tier one's goals are to consolidate everything that the business does into a database. And so that's what they start working on. I mean, it's even things like, entering customer information into this database so that, as sales orders and production orders are tied into these customers, for example, we can link all that information and automate and with it. And I mean, it's really everything. Accountants rely on it a lot because it automates a lot of the background transactions. But then you look at it from the perspective of other managers now are able to analyze that data.
You're better able to do cost accounting.
Yes.
Through the ERP. You know, you can allocate the cost across the business or the category or.
Mm-hmm. And it gives you a good opportunity to standardize it as well. You know, by putting it into software system, you know, we're able to control how we're putting these costs together, and you know, kind of reduces some margin for error and interpretation for how things are done. And so by standardizing things to apply the principles against, you know, the rule set that we put in place of that standardization, and we know what went in on the underlying level to be able to make good decisions against it. So some of the top tier ERP systems, SAP and Oracle, tend to be the what are considered tier 1 ERP systems. So
do you use one of those?
We're actually in the process of implementing SAP corporate-wide. We did the accounting side of that ERP probably 4 years ago. So we've been taking all the information out of all of our other ERP systems that all of our plants have and pushing the financial data, the consolidated registers and things into SAP. So we've done our distribution side, has been live on that for a little over a year now, and we're actually in the process of kicking it off for our manufacturing plants. We have one plant that's gone live 3 months ago, and our plant's slated to go live probably about a year. And so that's another thing that I didn't touch on. One of my big responsibilities early on was an ERP implementation. So by doing that ERP implementation, I had to learn everything that the business did. I had to really figure out what we needed so that we could implement the system correctly. So that really helped springboard me as well, was again, getting engaged in those business areas outside of finance.
Nowadays, what % of what you do is accounting?
Very small.
I mean, like, even in your thought process, do you
I'm
think...
always an accountant at heart.
Does that help you analyze things now, you think?
It does. It aggravates some people, you know, because I still kind of have that mindset. But no, I really do. You know, I do help, you know, I oversee the accounting function, you know, for the site. So I do get to engage in it a bit, but you're right, the thought process of analyzing information and interpreting information, accounting really helped me build that skill set, and I use that all the time. Now, I don't do, you know, specific accounting tasks, but, you know, also that understanding of, you know, what's going on helps. You know, as you're at a higher level, you get an accountant that may be trying to pull the wool over your eyes, right? That this is how things are done. So having that understanding helps as well, that, you know, this is
so most of what you do is more, what would you say, strategic?
Yep. So I mean, it's strategic. I mean, my position is you know, managing the performance of that facility. So you know, it's at the top level, you know, trying to ensure that the business aligns with the corporate vision and goals. But then underneath that, it's driving the business to be better. It's controlling what's going on. It's building and developing that business for the future. So you know, we're doing a lot of the things that we've learned about looking at you know, pricing, looking at cost, looking at opportunities to help drive that business forward. So some tips along the way that I put together for everybody as we start progressing. Build those baseline accounting and finance skills. Like I said earlier, it's not just about how we got to these numbers and how the financial statement was built, but why? What's going on? Why are we where we are? Engage in tasks associated with other functional areas. So take on these special projects. You know, get outside of our comfort zone of finance and start helping out other areas. Working with these other functional areas is really going to help us start picking up those bits and pieces. It increases the knowledge of the company, and also helps drive your role in its success. Next big one is find a mentor. A mentor is going to be extremely important as you get developed and start building those real skills that are, we can't learn from a book. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask dumb questions. A good mentor is going to be able to show you the path. Get involved with the profession. So let's do things, whether that's local or global level. That's going to allow you to network, build skills, as well as develop new ideas. As you're participating in some of these organizations, you're interacting with people that have been in business for a number of years, have been in different businesses. So it gives you an opportunity to start developing new ideas and learning things that you can apply in the job that you're in now. The next one we talked about was thinking outside the box. So we want to get creative. Let's take the baseline skill set that we've learned and be able to get creative with it and solve problems. Don't fear failure. Without any risk, there's never any reward. So we don't want to be afraid of making mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. We've got to be able to step outside of that comfort zone, like I said, and test some things and take some risk in order to really reap the rewards of it. The next one is one that I preach a lot, and that's avoiding complacency. One thing that you hear a lot of times that really gets under my skin is that it's not my department. I don't have anything to do with that. You need to go talk to somebody else. Well, that attitude really tends to start pigeonholing you into that being your department all the time. So if you avoid that complacency and be open to working with other individuals in functional areas, you'll start broadening that business knowledge that you need to expand. The next one is continuous improvement. This is another one. The Lean Six Sigma that I talked about earlier preaches continuous improvement. Again, this doesn't have to apply only to production processes. It doesn't have to apply even to work. It can apply personally. One of the big tools that is used, I think Deming developed it, is called PDCA. What that stands for is Plan, Do, Check, Act. When we draw this out, which I thought I had it on the screen, I guess not, it's a circle. It continuously happens. So the first step of it, we develop a plan. That's obvious. The next one is we do it. So we take action on that plan. The next step is we check it. So we look at how we performed against that plan, what went right, what went wrong, and then we act. If everything went well, then we develop that plan again to get better and get better. We can apply that method of thinking in our daily lives as well as use it in tools for business. Well, that wraps up my presentation. So anybody got any questions or anything?
I teach cost accounting here. My name is Professor Joe Warther, and I worked in management accounting for 16 years. And pretty much everything you're saying is what goes on. And I can remember my manager telling me that it's just not doing the work, it's learning to do the work better, problem solving. He said that was number one on the list. It is.
Definitely, sir.
It is really important. Now, does your firm use activity-based costing?
No, we use standard costing.
Okay. What about a balanced scorecard?
Yes, we do some balanced scorecard work.
Okay. These are concepts I teach. I just wanted to.
Yes, sir.
But everything he was saying about communicating with people and working with other departments is absolutely true. You've got to be able to work with everybody, because that's what especially in these bigger corporations, like where I worked. I worked for a Fortune 500 company, and there was all kinds of different departments that you had to work with. So, but that's why I appreciate what you're saying.
Very true. I mean, like I said, it's about being able to take that next step and interpret the data and solve problems. I mean, that's how we're going to add value to the business. And when you start adding value to the business, then we're going to start investing in you and helping you progress in your career.
I was going to say, I had an internship this summer And the biggest thing was when I would go asking questions, I was always told, if you have a question, have an idea of how you can fix that question when you come to ask. And whether you may be way off the ball, at least they know you're trying to figure out how you're doing it, and you're not just coming and asking with a blank slate.
They say bringing a problem without a solution is complaining.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is important. I mean, again, you're showing that you're applying, the concepts that we've learned to the problems and trying to solve them.
Right.
And, it may be wrong, you may be way off base, but, somebody's gonna be more apt to, show you how you're wrong and why you're wrong than, solve the problem for you.
And then it was always know why you're doing it and not just because so-and-so told you to do it this way.
It is very important.
They don't like answering those questions.
I got a question.
Yes.
What exactly do y'all, I drive by a lot. What do y'all do? Do y'all cut lumber or,
Not at our plant. So, what we do at our plant in Leesburg is, we manufacture what's called pre-finished interior molding and trim.
Okay.
Primary business is, manufactured housing. So, we're making finished molding and doors that go into, modular homes or manufactured homes. We've been doing that for about 20 years, over 20 years actually. The company bought that plant in '94 and moved that operation from Americas into that facility. We have a number of products that then go through our distribution arm for retail distribution into big box retail stores like Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do in our plant here. Now, wood grain as a whole does a number of different things that are all related to molding and millwork processes.
Did y'all cut like crown molding and?
Yeah, we make baseboard and
Baseboards.
ground.
Okay.
And pre-finish it, so we paint it or laminate it or stain it so that it's
So you cut it and you put it on the wall and it's done?
ready to install. Yep.
Okay.
And that's why we've kind of focused on manufactured housing side is, prefabricated products that they're able to then, push houses through their plants a little bit quicker.
Because that modular home is big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, at your site, are you the only site that does that, or are there other sites that do the same thing as your site, or do y'all own that section of the business?
One of our plants has a small section of business that does some of the things that we do, but primarily our plant is the only one that does all the things that we do.
So you're kind of by yourself on analyzing that and trying to reduce costs and improve production?
Yep.
What part does preventative maintenance play?
Preventive maintenance plays a huge one. So we'll talk about it from the cost accounting side in that, preventive maintenance is putting the time and effort into maintaining the equipment to keep it running. So plant's not making money if it's not producing products. So if we're not doing the right things from a preventative maintenance standpoint, those machines are going to tend to break down more, and they're going to tend to break down at the worst times you can imagine. When your order file is full and behind. So taking the time to do that preventative maintenance up front helps reduce your costs that are associated with downtime.
So because you're the only site that does that specifically, if a machine was to break down or something, you wouldn't be able to outsource it to another site?
No. Not for the finishing side. Some of the raw conversion side we'd be able to, but not a lot of things.
So that makes that preventative maintenance even more important then?
It does. We also have a product that we manufacture out of our facility here that nobody else in North America makes.
Oh, wow.
So that one's really important for us to focus. That's one where we apply a lot of these principles, whether it's TPM, total preventative maintenance, Lean and Six Sigma, and those tools to really keep those lines running. Because we service this product into the retail channel, and we're the only plant that they can get it from. So we sell it across the nation. I think we sell it in. I think we're up to about 1,800 stores today, and every bit of it comes out of our plant.
So do y'all have anything that y'all run to fail?
No.
So y'all have planned maintenance for everything, like
Yep.
planned downtime for all your stuff?
We try to now. Things pop up, things break.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes there's some things you just can't afford to take that, you have to run to fail.
Exactly, you have to sometimes, I mean,
Somewhere
you
you
can't.
convert over.
And you can't, you also can't keep every part on the shelf that you need to run the plant. Other than having the plant built on the backside of the property to fire when things tear up. So, I mean, downtime happens, it's a cost, and we want to do things to prevent it as much as we can. But, you know, to relate it to our discussion, it's understanding what goes into that operation and manufacturing that we're able to help drive. Hey, you know, you should probably look at these things because your machine's down, you know, 8 hours of your 24-hour shift, then you've lost 30% of your production and your revenue at this point.
Right.
Okay, for every hour that's down, that's so many dollars it's costing.
So I wonder why you decided to get an MBA, and seems like you're at the top now.
Well, I'm at the top of our plant.
You arrived, and so why not be complacent?
Well, I'm never happy. You know,
Okay.
never want to be full. Tend to be a little bit of an overachiever, but I mean, I'm at the top level for our plant. But you know, business is a lot bigger than just than one facility. So as I'm looking to expand in my career and start working, you know, at you know, more of an executive level, you know, MBA is you know, qualification is going to help me get there, as well as you know, help polish the skills that I've learned getting where I am today.
Well, I'm kind of coming into the game late. I mean, I have about 18 years of manufacturing experience, and then I'm going into accounting because I'm just not. There's no way that I'll be able to retire from a manufacturing position. So, what advice? I'm hoping to add to my BBA in accounling, add to it a BS in information technology with a business focus. I mean, what advice would you have for someone in my position?
Well, I think you're maybe a step ahead of, you know, a lot of people that are jumping into business without the experience. You know, working in that manufacturing environment, you already know, you know, a lot of the things that need to happen to make the plant run, make those things come together. So as we work on the information technology side, you know, being able to look at developing those systems to allow the plant to do the things you know it needs to do is going to be important. You know, and
that would be a good investment, the information technology side, you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everybody uses ERP systems, and everybody needs people that can, you know, develop those systems, maintain those systems, implement them. So it's a good skill to have. You know, having that dual role is to be able to use that, because those systems are in place everywhere.
If someone were interested in applying for an entry-level position at a facility similar to yours, is the application process local, or does it take place through a national corporate website, or how does somebody even
we do it both ways.
Get started?
At some of the lower levels, we recruit locally. You know, so our local HR and myself are doing that recruiting, but we're posting it nationally. I mean, we're putting it on places like Indeed and Monster and things like that. But you know, we're doing all the screening, interviewing, and selection for those candidates. Now, at the higher level, you know, say they were hiring somebody to replace me, or you know, some of these higher level positions, then you know, our division or corporate office is then going to start getting engaged in that side of things. But a lot of the same places, I mean, they're going to be recruiting in the same places, using the same avenues, you know, they like to be able to look a little further out than we are locally.
Are they big on, would you say that you're big on promoting inside the company instead of pulling someone from outside?
We like to focus on promoting internally for a number of different reasons. I mean, one is, you know, we want to invest in our people. You know, if we're investing in our people, they're going to be more apt to invest in us and perform maybe a little better than somebody that we bring in from the outside. It also helps put us a leg ahead of bringing somebody in from the outside. They already know our values, they already know our principles, they already know how we do business. So they've got that baseline knowledge, so that helps us speed the process up. So it's really beneficial, in both of those areas. So we like to focus on, promoting from within as much as we can.
What kind of employee are you looking for? What are the main key ingredients?
Work ethic is a big one. That's one that is getting hard to find sometimes. But it's one that is very important. That's one of the things that we strive to find. There's those people that have the work ethic to really put the effort forward, learning more. It's not about just, the work ethic from the perspective of being willing to work long hours and do back-breaking work. It's about, having that ethic to learn more and get engaged and grow with us. Because like you said, that helps us develop people internally and promote our business. Now, skill sets are ones that we look for a lot that are going to be kind of related to, the jobs that we have. But, some of those baseline ones that I talked about in the tip slide, being able to communicate well. If somebody's able to communicate well with us, then we're going to be able to deliver information effectively to them, to train them well. They're going to be able to deliver information back to us so that we can, improve the business. So those are probably our top two skills that we like to look for is being able, having a strong work ethic, which is one that's, it's really hard, to gauge, especially, first job out of school, right? I mean, it's hard for us to say how much work ethic does this person have. We try to garner as much of that as we can through the interviewing process, but it's kind of tough. And then the communication side, is important for us.
Well, we probably better wrap it up, but we really appreciate you coming and appreciate the talk.
Yes.
So everybody maybe give him